me get this straight. A thing that looks like a police box standing in a junkyard, it can move anywhere in time and space?
Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 964. I am Stephen Edmonton.
Morning, Vancouver.
Dan Chris in Edmonton.
We are here to talk about Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 6, Rogue. Later on in this episode, we will do a full tribute to the great William Russell, who died this week, aged 99. Of course, he plays Ian Chesterton in the way back in Episode 1, and then recently appeared again in The Power of the Doctor in 2022 at the age of 97 or 96 when they shot it. Yeah, so we'll talk about that later on. First, I do want to mention, because those of you watching on YouTube, you can see us for one, and B, you can see that I've been wearing Oilers jerseys for most of the course of this run of Doctor Who, because the Oilers have been in the playoffs. Warren's got the Elks jersey for the local football team.
I just have Ralph Wiggum as a Mountie.
That's true. The last time the Oilers won the Stanley Cup was in 1990. The last time they were in the Stanley Cup final was 2006, which they lost in 7 games. And
Carolina.
Shortly after that, in August of 2006, this podcast was born. Warren and I finally started it after like months of talking about it.
Piddling around, I think, is the term you're looking for.
Yeah. And so and now I'm lucky enough to work for the Oilers, and that I do video replay at Oilers games, and it's my dream job. And now everything is coming together, so much so that Game 1 is tonight. It's in Florida. Game 3 and 4 are in Edmonton next Thursday and Saturday. So my mind might be distracted for that one. Let me tell you though, if this goes to Game 6, Game 6 is in Edmonton. The Oilers would have a chance possibly by then to either win the Stanley Cup or lose the Stanley Cup, or possibly win the Stanley Cup and have to lose that game and have to play in Game 7. That night will be the same night as the Doctor Who finale, literally the same time that will happen. If the Oilers win the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1990, I will be elated, exhausted, emotional. Drunk. I will stay up all night probably, and then I would have to watch a Doctor Who episode on top of that. That's the finale of the entire season.
And come up with some pensées about it as well.
Yeah.
If the Oilers won the Cup, I assume we're going to go to YouTube or something and watch the last game of the 1990 series.
I will need to. I've already done that many times. I will. So it's. I'm really hoping. Obviously the Oilers win. I'm really hoping that they do it in 5 games or less, because let's say they lose. Let's say they go to Game 6 and lose, and I have to work that, and I have to watch that.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, well now I have to suffer this immense depression and try to summon up the courage and energy to watch the finale of Doctor Who, which I would normally be very excited about. So it's going to be very conflicting emotions and attentions for me over the next couple weeks. Just so you know, that's just laying my cards on the table there. Yeah. My opinions for Doctor Who over the next couple weeks will be
skewed
potentially.
As someone who doesn't really care about hockey all that much, although I want to see the Oilers win, everything's going to be just fine over here.
Yeah, you're fine.
Where we don't care about hockey very much
You're fine
anymore.
in Vancouver. Yeah. Oilers beat Vancouver on the way to this. So.
Yes, they did.
So that and because of all the hype and the foo-for-all building up to the course of during this whole week, I've been kind of reveling in it, because we've never really had this before. And so like I had to keep telling myself, there's Doctor Who on later today. There's Doctor Who on. That's right. Remind myself there's Doctor Who on. And there was. And we watched it. It was Rogue. Not Rogue One, but Rogue. The character of Rogue. That was it. So We are here to talk about Doctor Who Season 1, Episode 6, Rogue. I think I went to Warren first last week. So, right. Chris, I'm very intrigued to hear your initial impressions of Doctor Who Rogue.
Very queer.
That's not inaccurate.
That is as queer as Doctor Who gets, and why not?
Or has gotten.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure you can get more queer.
The New Adventures would like a word.
That's true, but a good old fashioned queer love story on Doctor Who, which is pretty great. I thought. Yeah.
I wonder if there's any plan or like how overt it was to have this air during June during Pride Month.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I mean, Doctor Who is coming. It's going to be airing now in any way.
Well, that sounds like a happy circumstance more than anything
it's like Doctor Who waits until June to be this. I don't think it's waiting for a specific month. No. When's straight Pride Doctor Who gonna air?
Good God.
Damn it.
Most of the 70s.
Well, now that we're full on woke, yeah. It was a thing. It was good. It was good. Yeah. It was quite good.
Oh.
I suspect last week, Stephen, you had said that Dot and Bubble was probably your favorite of the series so far. Mm-hmm. I suspect this has supplanted that. I know it has for me.
No, I like Dot and Bubble. I like Dot and Bubble.
Still for Dot and Bubble?
Still for Dot and Bubble.
I think this has overtaken Boom as my favorites.
Oh, wow. Nice.
You'll notice the top two are the non-RTD scripts. But,
the Chris agenda.
Yeah. So basically, the best that Legend of Ruby Sunday and the Empire of Death could do is third or fourth. It's already been slotted. You've graded it on a curve. You're the French judge at this figure skating at the Olympics. Thinking, that one's going to top
no.
Yeah.
Only a 7 from the Russian judge.
Right.
Just Shudi's performance, especially in scenes with Jonathan Groff, was just amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm. It was simply amazing, and I'm sure we'll talk about more of that later. But had some problems, not perfect, but very enjoyable. Yeah,
oh, that's good. Well, all right then, Warren.
All right. Well,
now that Chris' initial impressions, don't need to go into details, just initial thoughts, and we'll get into it.
We'll cover detail later. Yep.
My initial thoughts is I pretty much agree with everything Chris said. I don't think it's my favorite. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it all right. It was fine. Like, I'm actually underselling it. It's a little better than that. But I saw people losing their minds over it, and I'm just like, what am I missing here? Like, but to be fair, it's a stew of stuff that I don't have much interest in. Regency stuff, cosplay, all the rest of it. All this is stuff that's perfectly fine and it was well executed. But I've never seen an episode of Bridgerton because I just don't care about that.
Right.
That whole thing, that whole Regency thing. And that's not to deride it. I'm happy people are happy. But it's just like, yeah, it was okay. I guess it's well written. It's funny. It's good performances all around. I barely know who Jonathan Groff is. So I'm just not the audience for it, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah.
There are friends of ours who are like theater fans and everything
which
else.
is great.
Just like,
but not for me.
Jonathan Groff is like...
And again, like, so I'm just... It's not that it's... anyway bad. I don't think it's bad. I enjoyed it just fine, but it's kind of like sports. It's like I'm going to watch the Oilers. I'm going to enjoy it if they win. I'm somewhat removed from it, and I'm kind of like that with this. It's like Regency is fine. It's just not my bag. So
nope. I've never seen an episode of Bridgerton. I don't expect I ever will.
And I understand people love that kind of stuff. But and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just
I'll leave that to Lynn on Verity.
I'm trying to think what the comparison of, if this was like some sort of David Lean tribute or something, then maybe I'd be like, oh my God, I'd just be pre-programmed to enjoy it, right? I'm just not pre-programmed for this. So, given that, it was fine.
Not until they said an episode in Powell's books or something.
Exactly. That's what we should.
I've been. So Erica, because of course we watched this together, Erica is a fan of Bridgerton. And we have friends also who are fans of Bridgerton who we went to go see, and they specifically watched this episode last night when it dropped because it was going to be Regency and Bridgerton themed, and they adored it. I pick up on what happens in Bridgerton, based because I'm in
Osmosis,
the room.
yeah.
We have 2 TVs in the living room for this reason. Erica can watch Bridgerton. I can do Caio Perico heist on Grand Theft Auto.
Now we're talking. Where's my Grand Theft Auto episode, Doctor?
Yeah, so like I'm aware of what's going on. I know they have like the the incidental music is it's kind of like a jukebox musical that they're playing like popular hits, but as like a chamber quartet piece, which is what they did here.
Which again, fine.
Yeah, they were blatantly referencing Bridgerton in throughout the episode, and so
It's
the
like
whole
episode's
time
going, huh?
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you hitting me for? Like, what's
I know,
going on here?
and I thought, okay, this is great for those fans. I'm not quite getting it as much. I'm enjoying it. And you know what? If out of 888 episodes of Doctor Who, one is sort of directly targeting Bridgerton fans, I'm going, that's great. I am happy.
It's just I'm not the intended audience, which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. Doctor Who could be so many different things. Look at over the past 3 weeks. It's been like a Welsh horror, and then Dot and Bubble, where it dealt with racism, and now here we are in Regency. That is what Doctor Who can do. And it was great. I was happy for the people who were happiest about this episode.
That's a perfect way to put it for me too.
And I enjoyed it, and I'm thinking the whole time, going, you know what? If I want an action, Earthshock is always there. I can always go watch.
There's any number of different things I could watch.
Yeah, I could always. Yeah, exactly.
In the scene toward the end when Rogue turns to the Doctor and says, "Can you lose a friend to save the world," or whatever the phrase was.
Right.
My first thought was, just think of Adric.
He said friend.
Yeah.
Patrick, yeah. There's your distinction.
Not annoyance.
He couldn't save him. He didn't willingly press the button. Although maybe he did. Maybe
he'll never know if he was right. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. About which more later. We'll talk about Adric a little bit later on in this podcast. Yeah, that's a teaser. All right. So yeah, it was great. It was fun. It was a delightful romp. As always, I like now that Doctor Who's on Disney Plus, I often just watch episodes of Doctor Who thinking what a potential new audience firing up Disney Plus on the weekend would think of, what is this crazy show? And it's like, it can do anything. New viewers.
This proves
Doctor
it.
Who.
They've never done anything quite like this before.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, not really. No.
No.
Yeah. I like this recent trend of what happened to Bubble. I'm trying to think what other episodes it sort of happened in, where basically the episode starts and Doctor Who and their companion are already there. They're involved in the adventure or just there having fun. I love that. I've always kind of it's been rare that it's happened.
It's one of your criticisms of Colin Baker's era.
They just bicker in the TARDIS for 20 minutes while the rest of the story happens. Yeah. They do. And I just feel like this is kind of like Andrew Cartmel actually came in and says, let's dispense with the TARDIS scenes. We're done with those. Let's get the Doctor and the companion involved right away in the story. And that's what they do.
And season 26, you see the TARDIS for 30 seconds.
It's tiny. Exactly.
Yeah.
Also,
it's also run down and ramshackle, but
yeah.
Happy to see a lack of explanation again about costumes. It's just in costume. He's got a wig or he doesn't. Who cares?
Whatever. It was great. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you show up in costume?
In Devil's Court, also directed by the same director, Ben Chessel.
Yeah.
The Doctor mentions having a whole series of wigs. So
they do. Yeah. It was the wig agenda is.
Well, I mean, everybody else in that gathering has got a wig too.
As opposed to the wig agenda. As opposed to the wig agenda, WHIG.
That's the wigs. Well done. The Whigs still a political party? I don't think they are.
No, God, much like the GOP will soon be, or not.
much like the Tories. And if the election goes away,
you heard it here first.
Oh yeah,
Simpsons predicted it.
Oof. So yeah, a delightful romp. Regency stuff will always look good. I always say this to Erica whenever she watches Bridgerton or some Jane Austen thing, and thinking, we never see the poor people in these things.
No, we do not. Well, we saw the house. We saw the
housekeeper. Yeah.
So we did see the poor people.
Yeah. We always see them being talked down to and get out of here, get back in the shadows.
That's because that's probably what happened.
Yeah. Which I always kind of I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not that I'm some egalitarian or something. I need to see all.
Well, you should be actually. There's nothing wrong with being an egalitarian.
I mean, when it comes to my watching drama and stuff.
That's what upstairs downstairs is for.
I suppose so. I do feel like a lot of people like love the romantic ideal of the Regency era and not the actual reality.
Well, I mean, you can look at Mad Men, although Mad Men's maybe a bad example because from what my parents have told me, that's pretty much spot on as to what the 60s were like. But yeah, every I mean, we're going to see, if we aren't already, actually we are already, Stranger Things idealizes the 80s. I lived through the 80s. It was not anywhere near that cool. Some of it absolutely nails and some of it gets way off.
Yeah, it's definitely a through the looking glass kind of thing. Rose tinted glasses thing. Every time I watch something in the Regency, I know it's not quite the same era, but I always want to rewatch Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick.
One thing I like about social media is they're trying to do that with the 2000s, and a bunch of people, millennials who lived through the 2000s, are like, no.
Right.
The 2000s kind of sucked. Let's be honest here.
It did a lot actually. So, but yes, yeah, there's a queer romance going on with Doctor Who and Rogue in this episode, which is pretty cool. That's a first. But the thing that
it's not a first.
Oh, I mean, it's a queer romance for Doctor Who.
Well, I mean, actually having things happen.
Yeah, Jodie eschewed a queer romance, 13, but Jodie 13 has every right to do that.
Jodie and Yaz, according to the Independent, as played by Pearl Mackie.
Yeah, that was
Is that
weird.
the Independent or the Independent's AI?
Good question.
That's a good question. I bet you AI wrote that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that it wasn't actual lip on lip action like we got here.
Right.
I mean, great. It's 2024. Why the hell not? Come on,
absolutely, absolutely.
So
okay.
I seem to remember. I can't speak for you two, but myself and I think everybody I was with when watching the TV movie back in 1996, just loathing the kiss between the Doctor and Grace.
It seemed out of nowhere. I'm sure at the time I was like, I don't know if I like that a lot. And surprise, from my mid-20s, I've learned and grown from there, shockingly enough. I'm like, well, who cares? Like, I could see it now and not care. Like, and also, RTD, to his credit, right when Eccleston started, they got some kisses in there, just like, get this is on the table, shut up, leave us alone. Seemed perfectly fine at the time, which it was. And it was in the 90s too. We were just dumb. Because the 90s is also a stupid time that gets over nostalgized.
We were prudish Doctor Who fans back then. And let's face it, also, we were kind of like, come on, Doctor Who. We were like even in terms of success with women for 26 years, and then you go ahead and kiss a woman. You had to one-up me. You show off.
There's a little more truth to that than I'm willing to admit.
Right?
But anyway, like with this,
how dare you? You were my hero, man. You were unsuccessful with women too. Why do you think I watched you? Sexy Paul McGann.
Each doctor has, for whatever reason, on screen or off, it had some sort of relationship or lack thereof with the opposite sex or the same sex, honestly. And now this particular doctor is like, yeah, I'm down. Okay, sure, whatever.
I think what kind of like I'm in two minds about this because this episode kind of happens over the course of what, like a night,
something like that.
And like he's basically proposing to them by the hour or two of their meeting.
Yeah, but other doctors have done that with companions, not in the same way. But it's more or less the same formula of, hey, I just met this person. You want to be my Osgood is a perfect example for
it happens quickly, but also like the doctor's like thousands of years old, and so I feel like there's a lot of like shorthand that we could just take as they like the connection that they had. Basically like pushed everything aside. Like we can skip a few steps ahead here. We've played this game before. We can go right to this is quite exciting and everything.
And this doctor in particular says to Rogue, and this is a hint at something more for Rogue. We have to live because they can't. Something along those lines. I might be getting the quote not exactly right, but which means Rogue Time Lord confirmed. But
I don't know about that. I have a theory. I have a theory later on about this.
Could it be bunnies?
It's not bunnies.
Okay.
No.
I saw somebody remark in the chat earlier on how they were glad Rogue isn't like some, renegade Time Lord, alt doctor, kind of
that we know of.
Creation,
that
we know of. I think I agree with that. Like it's a breath of fresh air to have he's just
that doesn't strike me as an RTD thing to do.
We don't even know if he's a time traveler.
Good point. I will say I don't know if I buy him as a bounty hunter. I don't.
Well, there's more to him for sure. I don't know what that might be.
Yeah, I feel like he's He turns pretty quickly from his bounty hunter. Like, he doesn't seem the bloodthirsty type. Like, you've got like 10 Vexels, and then I'm literally going to obliterate you.
Well, if the Book of Bounty Fett has taught us anything, it's that people can change.
I suppose.
Book of Boba Fett has not taught us anything.
And then he didn't seem ruthless enough to me to be a bounty hunter, and I feel like maybe that's even a cover or something, and that's I don't know. It feels like I don't think his heart was in it, is what I mean to say. But
there's the conversation when they discover the Duchess's body. The doctor says to him like, "Oh, you expected this," or you're not fazed by this kind of thing. So I don't know if I completely agree with you.
Really? I don't. Well, I mean, I don't think he didn't look bloodthirsty. He didn't look like a gruff.
You don't have to be bloodthirsty.
I guess not. I guess
you're a gruff. Is what you're saying.
He says he's in it for the money and nothing else.
I suppose. I know he did. I know. I thought his turn from "I'm a ruthless bounty hunter in it for the money" to "I love this guy and I'm going to propose to him in the middle of a dance floor" happened pretty quickly.
Not. Did you misconstrue the proposal? He didn't propose.
No, I think he was doing it for the scandal aspect of it all. But at the end, the doctor's like thinking, "I'm going to take that ring and put it on the pinky,"
which is a nice scene.
Oh yeah, for sure. The doctor is now Mr. Fusus. The proposal was just him freaking out. He didn't know what else to do. So
that's true.
Because the doctor says to him, "Just say anything," and he says nothing. He just gets down on one knee. So yeah. So it is for the scandal.
It was a ruse, I know that, but I think there was some genuine intention behind it. I don't know.
Well, there can be more to it metatextually too.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. But apart from that, I thought it was lovely and sweet and stuff. And everyone, because he's Jonathan Groff's American, and the character of Rogue is not entirely dissimilar to the introduction of Captain Jack, and a lot of people are sort of putting the two together. But
probably less problematic in real life, I would assume.
I
know nothing about Jonathan Groff, so
there's been no shortage of people on the interwebs who have talked about that comparison and how John Barrowman being as problematic as he is, this is a good way to never ever have him again.
Well, also Rogue is much like the 14th Doctor compared to the 10th, a lot more toned down. There's not as much theatricality to him as there's more theatricality with Shuddy, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, he's not as flamboyant in describing his exploits. We only know that his former companion was a Dungeons and Dragons first mentioned in Dungeons and Dragons in Doctor Who.
I saw him like, am I seeing that right? Is this for real? Okay.
Yeah, with dice there. Erica wanted us to pause at the dice because she wanted to see what the type of dice.
I immediately thought to myself, man, this is aimed specifically at Erica, the Regency and Dungeons and Dragons.
I know there was I just like this is perfect as that was happening, going Urshok, there's Cybermen blowing up things. It's there for me waiting if I want to go back to that. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine.
Azric will live this time. It's okay.
Azric will live this time. Yeah. What else before we get to Chris's notes, his talking points? Did you take notes, Chris? I'm just assuming that.
We could go to the Grand Gate.
The what now? Oh, so yeah. So there's multiple doctors happening in here. Mm-hmm. In the scene, I remember seeing the scene in there when in the trailer, you see the David Tennant head above there.
Yeah, we came up with a bunch of dumb theories. I was right again.
I assumed that too. I just thought they probably scanned him, and then here's what his past theory is, and so they had the Tennant one which is fine. That's unspoilery because we've already had Tennant come back again, so that's all fine. But then other heads start circling around in random order.
Yeah, fairly random. So I made a list in order. If you want me to just run it down.
If you want, sure.
Sure.
I just before you do that, I read an article in TV Insider this morning with Kate Redman, one half of the writing duo of this, and the script said all the past doctors come in there, and they never specified what order in the script. They just said all the past. So whatever order happened was in the eyes of either the director or the editor or Russell,
or the VFX person
himself.
or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know who it was who decided to throw in Richard E. Grant in there, but Richard E. Grant as the Shelka Doctor.
He's canon now.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Scream of the Shelka in 2003, early 2003, was greenlit to be the next wave of the next
the next incarnation of the series.
of Doctor Who, because
Now he
Doctor
was.
Who it was never coming back on TV. So why don't we just make some real player web comic episodes of Doctor
Flash,
Who?
technically.
Flash,
Just to be Dan.
very very early days for that. And Richard E. Grant was cast as the voice of this new Doctor. And he never regenerated from Paul McGann or anything like that. And
was the official canonical Ninth Doctor.
The official, when they planned it, it was all official. And then as they were literally wrapping up production of that, it was going to go out in November for the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who. They greenlit a new series of Doctor Who on TV, and Russell D. Davies, literally his first thing when he did that is phone Paul Cornell or email him maybe in those days, and said, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but they're bringing back Doctor Who." So you're screaming the Shulkins thing. It's like, okay, burying the lead there, Russell. Doctor Who's coming back to TV, and I'm wondering.
But I mean, at least Paul wrote for that for a series at least, so I'm sure that cushioned the blow.
That's true.
If there was a blow at all.
That's true, and I know that Brian E. Redmond is friends with Paul Cornell, and I'm wondering if the Richard E. Grant thing is a specific hat tip to him and Scream of the Shulka, or if that's RTD going put in Richard E. Grant in there, because notice that it's old. It's like current day Richard E. Grant. Looking at it like he did as the Great Intelligence in Matt Smith's time in Doctor Who.
And let me just give you a behind the scenes peek here. I had no idea who that was. I actually texted this shot of it off my phone to Steven saying, "Is this the Villiard?" Like, because I couldn't really tell who it was.
There were people who thought it was Michael Jaston. Yeah,
I was like, "Is this the Villiard or some other Doctor we've never heard of?" And he was like, and then when you said Richard Grant, I'm like, or at first I thought it might have been like a really badly coupled together AI-ish Christopher Gallagher.
Right.
And then his head shows up like about 7 heads later or whatever it is. So I was like, oh, it can't be that. So who the hell is this?
As Katie Beth points out in the chat there, don't forget that one of the writers wrote the episode of Loki with Richard E. Grant. Kate Herron is the showrunner for Loki.
Yeah, that's right.
That was I liked that they put them in random order. Seemingly
and Joe Martin's in there, which
exactly. So that like,
so I'm gonna jump in here.
Sure.
So David Tennant, Jodie Whittaker, William Hartnell, Richard E. Grant, Tom Baker, John Hurt, Peter Capaldi, Christopher Eccleston, Matt Smith, Joe Martin, David Tennant again, John Pertwee, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, Paul McGann, Patrick Troughton, Sylvester McCoy.
Right.
They get them all in there. That Smith one looks a little warped too. So
Jodie Whittaker's hair looks like she was like in a bad shower.
Kind of oblong, it's like maybe that's the intended effect. I don't know, but a few of them kind of look distorted, and maybe that's on purpose. But I do like that John Hurt's in there and Joe Martin's in there.
Absolutely. And what I like is that they're out of order, so that like, here, we're going to put all these doctors in there. They've all been in Doctor Who at some point, but we're not going to put them in order so that we're not deciding on where they go. So that's up to you. We're just showing you all the faces of Doctor Who, not where they line up.
The numbering system, which was already a dog's breakfast, is now probably a cat's breakfast at this point.
That's true.
Who knows what's going on or cares? I'm just calling them 15 because it's convenient.
Yeah.
And another frequently asked question that just popped up in the chat. Who's to say it's not Richard E. Grant's Doctor from The Curse of Fatal Death? Because there's no Joanna Lumley, there's no Jim Broadbent, there's no
Rowan
Atkinson. Yeah.
So that's why.
Imagine if they threw Hugh Grant in there. Oh boy,
I was half surprised we didn't see the Morbius Doctors.
They
did that before. I mean,
that would have been a nice little mind F.
But I mean, Richard E. Grant is enough to confuse. I mean, hell, it confused me, and I've been watching this show my whole life. So,
and that scene would have gone on for 12 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. They just sit there tapping their watches, going,
just like, okay. And then there's this face. I don't remember this one. I was that for very briefly. Oh, look, there's a Rabana in there for some reason. There, work on that one there. Head scratchers. Yeah.
You could mess with people's minds so much by just that sort of stuff. That's of content.
That is true. So, yeah. All right, Chris.
But I like it. I liked the out of orderness. Made the Richard E. Grant appearance that much more pronounced. I think.
Yeah,
iconic.
Versus what we saw in the Next Doctor, for example.
Because it goes in order. It's you're waiting for it. Whereas now, like you're saying, Warren, I was like, Who is that? That might be a bat. I don't remember who. I couldn't tell, but they moved on now. And only when you sent me the link, it's like, oh, that's Richard E. Grant.
And you can make the argument that it kind of looks a little like the Valeyard, and that wouldn't be without the realm of possibility. I'm glad they didn't, but they could have if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why not have Michael Jaston in there? Especially since he passed away not that long ago.
Again,
that'd be a good little tribute.
Same reason we said don't put these other ones in.
Back that way.
You're going to sneak one in, just make it Richard E. Grant. What the hell?
Exactly. It's proper actual Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, he was the canonical Ninth Doctor until the series got rebooted.
Now he's 8.5 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
That's the War Doctors.
No, yeah,
the REG, the REG Doctor officially.
3/4 or 1/4? I don't. There's no reason for me to bend my mind like a
that's like Harry Potter train station Doctor at this point. You just like.
So Richard E. Grant, the REG Doctor, as you say, REG for Regency.
Somebody also made a good point in the chat. I miss Peter Cushing. They're absolutely right. This is Cushing erasure.
They have no rights. They have no rights to it.
Yeah.
They could have just taken the sterling digital double that they used in Rogue One and put it in there.
Excellent.
Rogue One has a very fake looking Peter Cushing in it. Anyway,
yes, it does. I never minded the Carrie Fisher in there though.
Oh no,
that's even more fake.
Everyone's like, "Oh, the Carrie Fisher is so much worse," but
no, it is. I
Carrie Fisher.
The ending of that movie. I
like the ending of the movie, but
the ending of the movie is fantastic. Like
I agree.
Going straight into episode
I know
4.
what it's doing. I know what it's doing.
It's very well executed. Whether you like it or not, it is very well executed.
Really don't.
And Vader just through the smoke and just being a badass and killing all the squatties, like
And after only seeing him be wussy boy Anakin, that was a nice shot of Vader classic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Rogue One's
that's not what we're talking about.
Rogue One's the best of the new movies.
I hate it.
It's no
Best
Last
of the
Jedi.
new movies.
It's no Last Jedi.
Hated the end of Rogue One. Hate it.
Well, you hate a lot of things, so let's move on to proper Rogue.
Instead of Rogue One, we'll talk about Rogue. Chris, did you take notes as talking points? What do you want to
yeah, of course. I took some. We've already covered some off, but I'll see what I got left here.
All right, what do we got?
Psychic earrings, because why not? And then later on we have Nshuti's first use of psychic paper. We haven't seen that since Jodie's era.
All right.
Didn't he use it in Church on Ruby Road? Pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure he shows Ruby the psychic paper.
Oh, does he use it? I've forgotten the use of. I
could be wrong about that.
Tell us in the chat. Did they use it in the Ruby Road?
I thought this was the first use, but it could. I'm not going to say I'm correct. It could be wrong.
I mean, Star Beast, sure.
Yeah, but that's not Ncuti. I'm almost positive he used it somewhere in that.
15 used it in the club.
In the club.
There we go. I was right. Yeah,
that's right.
Again, I was right.
Yeah. So, in Ruby Road. There you go. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And thank you. Check.
Don't accidentally invent tarmac. 1902 got away from me.
Right.
Great line.
Who did invent tarmac, by the way?
Kat looked it up. Some I forget the name, but some Welshman in 1902.
I like to think he had to go to a 1902 version of one of those boring conferences I have to go cover. And he just
tarmac. That's right.
Havoc.
Let's talk about different types of tarmac.
If she's still in the chat and watching, I'll ask Kat to throw the name in the chat. She looked it up last night.
Yeah. We were going to look it up. We forgot. Maybe there was an awful person, an awful Welshman.
Is there any other kind?
How can there be an awful Welshman? How can there?
They're all so sweet.
They're all lovely.
Just like Stefan Powell.
I was waiting for the Powell agenda. Here we are.
Sidebar. Stephen Powell's work experience segment thing from Unleashed. Right. The suit he put on was so very reminiscent of the color scheme from Colin Baker's outfit in my mind. No blues there's no blues or whatever, but it was very reminiscent to me of Colin Baker's outfit.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
But like nice. And
I was mildly surprised that they didn't actually include him in a scene, to be honest. I thought that's what they were building up to. Like he would be one of the extras in the background, but he never was. It was weird.
Maybe he wasn't. We didn't notice.
Yeah, I did appreciate
because they would have showed it. They would have showed that. I mean,
they just
dressed him up. It's just how you're dressed up. That's it. Okay. Bye. That was it.
I did appreciate RTD's take on the costume, and hair and makeup, but the costume department is like the BBC obviously has no shortage of, even though they said they hired out the costumes, whatever. But
Right.
BBC period dramas and whatnot are always cited for their costumes and whatnot. And he's like, oh, we love them, and they probably hate us because they do such a good job.
I know, because
we rely on them so much.
Oh, I can. What's her name? Pam Down, is it? I can't remember the costume designer name. But she's doing great work. And the choice of that color of velvet was a specific reference to John Pertwee.
John Pertwee.
Yeah.
Also,
that's pretty
this is a
cool.
complete side thing, but I remember watching like during the 60th, somewhere in there was like a Antiques Roadshow thing, and they were showing old stuff and showing just how you got away with the fact that TV wasn't good enough to show off that these buttons weren't anywhere near accurate. And
Oh, interesting,
You've got to really up your game now because TV is more than good enough to show that off.
That's true. Yeah, in HD now, 4K.
So you could cut corners where you needed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also Stephen Powell's Haribo agenda was legendary.
Unacceptable. Your Haribo agenda is somewhat less than legendary.
Yeah, he never got them. He never got them.
He never got his Haribo.
I do like them smack talking Tom Hardy. It turns out the solution wasn't any good.
That's true. Yeah, we're talking about Doctor Who Unleashed there. The ways to get through night shoots. I was mildly surprised. They shot like 3 weeks of night shoots for this, but they did it in like mid to late May. Like in England, like the sun, like here in Edmonton, the sun isn't setting until like 11 and rising at like 5 or something. Like the night is not long if you're shooting night shoots in mid to late May.
You're practically in the Arctic, so there's part of that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying the number of hours to shoot in the dark was not long. And maybe that was the thing. Maybe if they shot it in like February or January, it's like, hey, guess what, guys? We got a 17-hour night shoot coming up here in Wales. You know, that would have been a long night.
Well, that would really explain why that woman's ears got cold, if that were the case.
That's true, because it's even cold in mid to late May. So
that's what Brits think. But
remember midnight shifts, Warren? Remember those days?
Yeah, I remember not seeing the sun for a week on end because I would go to bed, wake up, and the sun was already down, and so I just wouldn't see the sun for a week and a half. I'm like, so this is kind of a crappy version of being a vampire.
Yeah, this
all
podcast,
the downsides, none of the up.
This podcast, incidentally, for those who don't know, we're born out of midnight shifts that Warren and I worked at in Teletoon in the early 2000s.
Blabbing endlessly about Doctor Who and figuring, well, we can definitely get an hour out of this.
Right, because Caillou's airing right there at 4:30 in the morning for us, and we got to do something to keep ourselves sane.
Also, much like now, annoying everyone around us.
Yeah.
Doctor Who talk.
For those of you who have never worked a midnight shift, it's hell. It was hell. We could do it then because we were young, but now, like, I think I could not.
And also, for those of you who have worked in TV, don't.
Yeah, I am.
Despite what Stefan Powell, the Powell agenda is him selling TV to you as a glamorous occupation. It clearly is not.
Yeah, hats off to everyone who works midnight shifts on.
I just saw that whole group of people sitting there and we're having a good time, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I was having bad TV flashbacks to a much less glamorous version of the same thing in Edmonton.
The bit in the canteen.
Yeah, just all the forced jollity was making me go.
Oh, I know. I feel like I could see like extras. Great, depending on what you think of Ricky Gervais. I think it shows extras is hilarious. Just
I don't think much of him, but it is a good show.
Seeing everyone in the background in period costume, just in the canteen, collapsible tables, eating food off of a paper plate.
That's the last time he was tolerable, in my opinion. Ever since then, he's completely intolerable as a human being and character on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
The supporting artist Wrangler dude remind me of Matt Stone's Dave the Lighting Guy from Orgasmo, for anyone who might be able to
surprise,
put that
the
reference
Orgasmo
together.
agenda comes up.
Yeah, I don't know what
Chris, get out of the 90s, I'm begging you.
On that, I just want to point out that sometimes all the what we think is Disney money is like special effects and stuff. I look at this massive tent with a bunch of extras and costumes, thinking, there's Disney money too. That people
absolutely.
Cost money, as every corporation is telling you about. Yeah,
was it 74?
Yeah.
74 supporting
73
artists
SAs, as they call them, supporting artists.
And Doctor Who's always had good makeup, but that was really good makeup.
Oh, the bird makeup, you mean? Yeah. I thought it was good. It was fun and whimsical and stuff. Yeah. And as RTD was saying, he likes that each of them is entirely different. They're a family of bird people, but they're not like the same with slight variations. They're all. And
I also like
birds.
how this is down to acting too, but I liked how the makeup sort of enhances the personality you already have of the actor itself. You know what I mean? It just kind of fits who they're kind of being. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That bird feels like that person.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then part of that is that person is wearing that bird's makeup. But you know what I mean, though?
yeah, I
Yeah.
totally know what you mean. Yeah.
Except for the one, the blue one with like the really long like mustache and whatever.
Right.
Yeah, the one.
That's
the
it.
one.
I
The
love
one.
that one. That's
the
great.
one. The one. He looks like a Muppet.
Yeah, that's what's great about him. He does look
Yeah.
like a Muppet, like a lesser Muppet who comes and gets mad at Kermit for some reason.
Yeah.
The owl one or something.
So there's that. I don't know, there's that specific Muppet I've got in mind. I think he's blue and he's got like he's bald with like the ring of hair around the
Not
back
the
of his
eagle.
head.
Is he talking about Sam
No,
the
no,
Eagle?
no, not Sam the Eagle. No. Like a person Muppet, such as
Someone less iconic.
The only Trump voter I like, Sam the Eagle.
Probably would be. Yeah.
Anyway,
On your notes, Chris. What else? you got
yes,
there?
moving along. Susan Twist's appearance a little bit different this week as the Duke's late mother, now in painting form.
Uh-huh.
Always watching, always judging. I don't know if that's gonna play into her more pronounced role next
Right.
next week, next two stories.
We do see it. We do see it in the next time trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
It's gonna be.
she's very much there.
Mhm.
Orchestral version of Bad Guy.
So that is
Billie Eilish
very
song.
Bridgerton. All that. That
Apparently
guy.
so, yeah.
So somebody in the chat mentioned that they got the same orchestra that does Bridgerton to do this.
Oh, did they really? I know they got the same choreographer.
Some was Diamond something or something Diamond.
Right.
They had the same choreographer. They said, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not seen Bridgerton, but I get the impression, or I've been told explicitly that they'll take like modern pop songs or whatever and have an orchestral
Yeah.
chamber music-y piece.
Without
That's what they
subtitles,
do.
I would have never known.
I recognized it, and then they did the Lady Gaga song "Poker Face" for the fight scene, with the battle mode engaged on the.
Also,
Yep.
shout out to Rainbow Warrior 71 who says in all caps, Sam would never vote for that traitor. Which
Right.
I mean, I'm willing to say that too. I mean, I agree with the traitor part.
Yeah, our friend Katie Beth in the chat says Vitamin String Quartet did the same recordings. So actually the same.
Well,
they
Vitamin,
lifted
not
the
Diamond.
same music. Then is that what they did? Wow, that's. There's a lot of license. There's the Kylie Minogue song in the scene where the doctor
Which was
keeps,
very well used.
turning off and on to shame him because he's listening to Kylie
I
Minogue.
love Nshudi's expressions during that were just priceless.
That's
It's really
right.
funny.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a fun scene in the ship there.
It was.
Which was an
So-
interesting looking ship with like a little almost TARDIS-esque console in the center of it.
Very pleased D&D apparently.
hexagonal.
Wasn't I think it was
Or looked-
octagonal.
was it octagonal? Mm.
Yeah, I think it was octagonal. Yeah,
But yeah, I'll jump to that part then.
yeah, do it.
So yeah, the Doctor toying with Rogue while Kylie plays, starting the music back up, his facial expressions, his faux disappointment when Rogue shuts the music off,
Yeah.
only to turn it right back on.
Uh-huh.
And most charmingly when he's just like head down, eyes up, just mouthing the words of mouthing the lyrics to Rogue. It's just we don't deserve him.
No, we do. He is ours. We own him for the next 2 to 3 seasons. He's ours.
No, he's going to show up in something else, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the flirting literally from the get-go.
Right.
Just the Doctor, just Rogue.
Yeah.
That was some high-quality flirting.
Rude and you fast mover and yeah, something like that is gonna always go one of two ways. It falls flat on his face, or it works like a frickin' charm. And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, you're right
definitely
about
the
that.
latter here.
Yeah.
They had chemistry. They went to a
if it-
Beyonce concert during the shooting of this. Jonathan Groff took Shooty Gatwa to a Beyonce concert in Wales, which in itself sounds like Beyonce went to Wales. What? But
Of course she did. I'm sure there's
yeah.
plenty of Beyonce fans there.
You know, and they obviously loved him because when they went to New York for the
They went and saw his play.
They went and saw his play. And
Also,
Shooty Gatwa
I may
had
have said this
other things,
before, but when Beyonce was here, I live a block from where she was playing, and I walked through, and the crowd was old, young, every background. And then I said to myself, Taylor Swift, it's not going to be quite like this. that will be a much more demographically intense crowd. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Tweens and their moms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I work with a lot of people who've bought and have already gone to European Taylor Swift concert dates. 'cause-
You must work with a lot of rich people, apparently.
No, because it's cheaper to cheaper to go to Europe because they cap resale.
The free market was a mistake.
they cap resale prices on tickets. So
And
it's
Swifties, I don't care. I don't have anything against her. I don't care.
so at least for some people, it's cheaper to like hotel, flight, whatever to Europe to see T-Swizzle versus seeing it in the States or Canada.
The only thing I have against T-Swift is just a block that way is going to be unnavigable December for 3 days.
Oh, we got to get you. You got to come here then, Warren. Probably. You have
You'll have to have your parental visit earlier in the month.
Maybe so.
Edmonton, yeah.
Which is not coming to Edmonton, that's for sure, despite the impending Stanley Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Next on your list of notes there, Chris, you got anything left?
Rogue ship looks like a bird.
So Rogue ship looks like a bird, and you raise a point because this is my wild theory. So it looks like a ship. Either he stole it from the bird people, the Cholder.
It's entirely possible.
But he also mentions like paperwork because the boss, the new boss, demands it.
This job has so much paperwork since we got that new boss.
Which could not be related. I probably is, but it could maybe not be.
I put who's the boss. I suspect Rogue will return somewhere somehow. Is the boss the one who waits, or otherwise do they have an association with the one who waits or the toy maker?
Right. Okay. Well, here is my wild theory. So, by the way, in that same TV Insider, they basically just wrote Rogue and says, "Oh, well, we'll put the thing and maybe find me," but they never intended for Rogue to come back. RTD might now have other ideas, but so
they left the door open.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rogue working as a bounty hunter for the boss, trying to right wrongs and stuff like this in a ship that's shaped like a bird. My theory, wild, crazy theory, that is
Battle of the Planets.
Nope.
Nice.
What if
Catchment.
Rogue is working for the White or the Black Guardian?
Oh.
What about that?
like
With
where you're going with this.
Birds on their heads.
I was very much ready to dismiss whatever you're going to say, and now I'm like, no, I'm down with bringing back the White and Black Guardians.
They're a kind of fantastical, magical sort of thing. Maybe they're involved in the pantheon of gods or something like that. Maybe
That makes a lot more sense than the other crazy stuff I've seen thrown around.
Aren't they like technically higher than gods?
Yeah, they control the universe basically.
They do.
Right?
They kind of
do.
do.
Two of them, they bring balance to the Force. One's Sith, and one is not. One's a Jedi, basically.
And we haven't seen him since Enlightenment, basically. So there you go.
And it's exactly the kind of thing RTD could just shove in there and go, here's a barely palatable explanation that still keeps the old nerds happy, and you can get away with it. There's some stuff where you're just like, okay, the land of fiction. I mean, the Toy Maker was a bit of a stretch to begin with, but you can't. There's only so much old crap you can pull from and make it feel legitimate to somebody who isn't insane like us. So, but this one I think you could because they're so iconic to begin with, right?
Right.
So
I mean, the bird thing was a JNT thing that was kind of silly. Let's face it. Valentine Dial didn't wear that in Key to Time season at all.
No.
So, but that is where my mind went, and now it's in your mind too.
But it'd be kind of great. What if Susan Twist is the White Guardian?
What if Susan Twist is the White Guardian? Who's the Black Guardian?
Mrs. Flood.
Also, there we go.
I can't take credit for that because that's been in the chat. But
there are worse crazy theories out there, I suppose. So why not?
Like I've heard Sutek's name floated, but you need context, but there's no context for the Guardians either. So
let's put a pin on that one until we come to the more contextual coverage of that. Where the hell am I here?
Where are you?
The Doctor being unnerved when the psychic paper just says "you're hot." That was great.
I love that he's embarrassed by it. Yeah.
The interplay of the dynamics, the way that Groff and Gatwa just play off each other is phenomenal. Like every interview you see with Gibson and Gatwa, they're invariably asked, what was your favorite episode, and they always say Regency.
Yeah.
Look at it from an actor's point of view.
No hesitation.
You get dressed up. There's so much for both of them to do. I mean,
and there's a lot of meaty stuff for both of them to get into as well. And sitting there watching the thing last night, I'm like, okay, I completely understand why this is their instant go-to answer because there's just so much to it for them.
Yeah. It was good to see Doctor Who, like the Doctor again. After, I mean, for obvious reasons, we didn't see much of him in the last 2 episodes because of the shooting obligations for Nshutigatwa. So there were Doctor Light episodes by necessity, essentially the last 2 weeks. And I don't think you could have I don't think you could put it this and then like 73, not 73 yards, Dot and Bubble like this week. Like if we swap the two, I don't think. I know, it just wouldn't feel right. It feels like get the heavy stuff out of the way so we can have fun before a two-part finale.
You need this frothy thing before the big two-parter, which is going to have heavy stuff in it somehow, story-wise anyway.
Exactly. I saw people sort of complain about maybe they should have reordered, but when you only have 8 episodes, there's only so much you can do, you know? You can't really throw your Dr. Light episodes into episode 3. Like, here's the launch of the show.
This is not Doctor's on in the Twin Dilemmas.
Or episode 1.
Just be happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. So...
Yeah, the flip side is there is still wiggle room to rearrange the episodes had they needed to do so, or maybe they did, and here's
the other thing:
we're not seeing the original order.
They're all on Disney Plus, or they will be in 2 weeks. Just watch them any order you want. Then you can just rearrange them any damn way you please.
That's true. Although even in the Doctor Who Unleashed, they're even saying we're shooting episode 6. So even then, they knew it was going to be episode 6. Oddly enough, for Rogue. So,
but you don't have to follow that. You can just shuffle it any way you like.
That's what you can, yeah. For the most part, this season's pretty much been, kind of standalone adventures, but apart from the Susan Twist thing. But
remember, kids, there's no such thing as official pretend.
There's no such thing as official pretend. Warren Fry, copyright 2020.
I'm a little embarrassed, but also kind of proud.
Yeah. What's next on your list there, Chris? You got anything there?
What do we got here? Doctor. A little shout out to the direction when the Doctor and Rogue are dancing and the lights dim and you've got the candlelight in the background, and in Unleashed it's said that there's a spotlight directly on them. Yeah. But just the shift, so it's thematically it's just them in the room. And it just looks so gorgeous.
It was a directorial touch too. I didn't say that, I'm referencing that TV Insider.
Well, it doesn't make any story sense.
Interview. No, but it's like they're sort of the only ones in the room is kind of what the as in a metaphorical sense of the script said, and they actually did that. It's a thing that is in their minds essentially. It's not actually what's happening on screen, because then they cut away and the lights are back on again and everything's going
everyone's there. Yep.
It's a stylish thing.
I've been asked how many ribbons I printed. I did not print these ribbons. This came as a complete surprise to me. I did not have anything to do with these, other than the original quote, I guess.
Yeah.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Or that ribbon, for that matter.
Throwback.
Or that. Well,
again, Chris, the 90s. You've got to leave at some point. You're in a chronic hysteresis.
What's next on your list, Chris? Let's go. Come on, moving on.
Is this the first episode of the series to not feature child abandonment as a theme?
Not where my mind went, but okay.
Yeah, I know that.
Back to the 90s with you,
Chris.
That
has been kind of a thing, hasn't it? With Ruby being adopted and Doctor Who being an orphan.
And Dot and Bubble having all the kids sent to the other planets.
All that stuff, probably, But it also isn't written by Russell T Davies, so...
good point, good point.
Boom wasn't written by RTD.
No, but that's
still featured.
That's a common theme for Moffat, though, coincidentally or not,
True. I mean, that's kind of the basis of Dr. Dance's Empty Child, even so.
Yeah.
Empty Child, Dr. Dance's, rather. Rogue flipping the script on the Doctor by getting on one knee to propose. We already talked about that somewhat, but it's just him just not knowing what else to do, and so
that's true.
So doing that, and the Doctor, the Doctor's that was just, man, I could probably watch every single scene that Nshutigatwa is in this story, and just like, I don't know, just plots over how fantastic
he's real good at this.
He is good.
Really good. I mean, not to take away from any other Doctor, but he's real good at this.
Yeah,
you could see why they cast him. You could see why they had another. I wonder who that other actor they had in mind before Nshutigatwa.
Chris Marshall. Chris Marshall.
He
just keeps coming back. They didn't invite him. He just keeps coming back.
Patterson Joseph,
who he snatched it from, because he was beaten by we were beaten by the best. And he is great. You know what? It at the end of the episode, I was kind of like, oh, like when Ruby and Doctor Who meet up again. So that's the one thing I wish that they would have been together. And I know it's great for story when you split the companion and the Doctor up and they can have each separate stories. But like I enjoy them together so much that we barely actually had them together in this episode at all.
The interplay at the start's pretty good though. Yeah,
it was great. And then they went away, and I thought, oh yeah, they're just a fun pair. They're a fun TARDIS team. I love how she cares about him. She, no, we're not doing this. I'm going to hug you. Shut up. You should take a moment to mourn this.
Even the look on his face when he's in the TARDIS with Rogue, and he just says, "Oh, she's my best friend."
Yeah,
like just
they're just, and I love that. I love the fact that Chudigat was queer, because that removes that will they won't they relationship that they always seem to try to shoehorn in the Tennant era, and even in the Gatway. I mean in the Matt Smith era
that's
a little
over and
bit.
done with.
Yeah, like we don't even do. You just tell they're just buds. They're just friends, because they're that element of their relationship does not exist, and that's
another thing I like about this iteration of the Doctor is I'm not crapping on Jodie's Doctor because I quite like her Doctor, but I like the fact that she's just kind of clueless about some stuff, or like she's operating in a higher plane in some ways. She's like, oh, human feelings, I got more important things to think about. Whereas this Doctor really feels, and I think both of them did a great job. Not to compare the two because I don't want to, but both of them did a really good job of that kind of thing, which are two very different things. His version of Doctor really feels, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and not in the Tennant-y waving your arms kind of way.
No, but I mean, not too dissimilar to it. Let's face it. I think the.
But it feels more core to his being, if that makes any sense.
It does a little bit. He does see like just a more passionate,
empathic, or
Time Lord, empathic as well. I think. Yeah. What do you got next there, Chris? Is that it? You almost at the end. You're talking about my episode is finished on my screen, so we've officially talked about this longer than the episode.
We haven't talked about Indira Varma. I thought she was great in this.
She was
both versions of the
her
character.
Yeah.
Also, and I in a way I feel bad about saying this, but just with her facial structure, the size and shape of her nose, and her really, really long neck, she is perfect for playing a bird.
Well, that's what I meant about the different, sort of the makeup being customized more or less to the various actors. It just kind of fits the personality they're putting forth and what they actually look like. So I thought she was fantastic playing both the snobby woman and the sort of, for lack of a better term, more working class bird person, like more rough and tumble, I guess. I don't know.
It's like Ruby says, she's so posh. I love it.
Yeah, she does great with both those. And with a pile of makeup on her face too.
Yeah. I liked her remark from Unleashed about how the makeup is like just right on the skin, so there's no room for it to itch or whatever. So that probably helped.
It's insane. Like I took, just out of general interest, I took like a course on that kind of stuff, and the amount of layering that goes into these things is insane. Like once you know how they do it, you're like, okay, I have even more respect for what you're doing here, because it's just at first it just looks like a bunch of essentially Lego, floppy Lego on top, and then eventually becomes this amazing looking, fairly convincing mask.
Yeah.
Hello, Kieran Hyman. Thanks for joining.
Yay. Why aren't you colorizing something? Come on, hurry up.
Get back to work.
Run. I'm normally the one that says that.
Yeah, that's great.
That was a good little.
Also, I did like them holding hands in the classic Doctor manner. That was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cat remarks like because they keep running through the garden and they keep holding hands, and Cat's like, oh, I love how they're just still holding hands.
Never made any sense. It's completely impractical, no matter which doctor it or whatever it is. It just doesn't make any sense to do. You're gonna hit something at some point.
I mean, unless you have the identical gait as the other person.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it looks great on screen. Don't get me wrong. I know exactly why it's there, but it doesn't make any sense. Logistically speaking.
The Chulder are basically a race of toddlers whining about always wanting new toys.
So I kind of love that. They're fans is what they are.
I love
cosplaying fans.
Yeah, I love that their whole impetus is just to go through history. I mean, let's face it. If we were like, time travelers, we had the ability to go through it. They would do exactly what Doctor Who and Ruby just went. They went back in time to cosplay as Bridgerton. That's exactly what they did.
Several episodes of this here podcast where you say you would use time travel, certainly the greatest invention in the history of mankind, hypothetical, to just go back and save Doctor Who episodes. Yeah, we'd waste our time on nonsense.
100%. 100% we would
Noble
do that.
nonsense, but nonsense.
Yeah, it'd be noble, but yeah, that is exactly what we would do. And then eventually you just start to thrive on the drama of it all. And then, so I love that.
We all know that fan. Trust me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they sort of like threw in like, oh, we could take over, and start wars with everyone who's not Brit. I think that was almost like, okay, we got to make them a little bit more than just like time meddlers, so to speak, because what kind they wear.
I don't know if that might have been just a little over the top though.
Maybe a bit, yeah.
I mean, it was what the Brits were actually doing. So.
Sure. There we go.
And I shouldn't just single out fans. It's also everybody has that friend who likes drama for some reason.
That's true.
Remark in the live stream chat, the Veruca Salts of Doctor Who.
I saw that, yes.
Kat made the same reference to Indira Varma's character.
Interesting.
She's like Veruca Salt.
With the,
which, very true.
The character.
Just sick myself in the 90s, I can't see that name and not think of the song.
And it doesn't hurt that we have one of the songs from Willy Wonka sung by the Doctor as well.
That's true.
Almost
one
here.
of the few musicals that I've enjoyed, by the way. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I didn't watch it for years and years because I loved the book so much that I didn't want anything to taint the book. And it's a decent movie. I'm never going to watch a Tim Burton one.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Ever do that.
I'm never going to watch this new Chalamet one either, which I've heard is good, but I don't care.
Don't do that. Don't do that either. Just
I have watched the Tim Burton one. It's watchable. It's
it's not
Gene, like Planet of the Apes is watchable.
It's not Gene Wilder.
It's not Gene Wilder. No.
Tim Burton past Ed Wood is not worth checking out.
I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Burton to begin with, although
I am up to Ed Wood, and then
Edward Scissorhands is amongst my favorite.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of bangers, and then it goes right downhill after Ed Wood. Ed Wood's great,
and Batman Returns is not.
You're absolutely wrong about that. Is one of the best Batmans of all time.
I know he's throwing that to you, Warren, and you.
I know.
And
give me that steak. I'm gonna eat it up.
Yeah.
Can you lose your friend to save the world? Changes from being about Ruby to being about Rogue. So a nice double meaning there. After Rogue takes Ruby's place.
Right.
I was also getting Eccleston vibes there.
Can you lose your friend to save the world? No, I know. Is Rogue testing the Doctor to kind of find out, is he a good man? Is he a Capaldi-esque? Is he a good man?
Oh, wow.
I just wanted to yell, I'm going to kill every stinking Dalek.
To try to decide if he should sacrifice himself to save Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he does. And then Rogue throwing the bouquet and the Doctor catching it. And Rogue says, find me. I'm not sure if there's a deeper meaning to that.
I was going to say the shippers go crazy, but the shippers had a whole buffet for this whole episode.
Yeah, they didn't need to. There was no subtext needed for this.
I was always under the impression that shippers hated when it was overt.
I'm not wading into those waters.
Speaking of
sharks and chum, I'm not going into those waters.
They have no gaps to fill in.
Warren, you're the fanfic writer amongst us. So I don't know how.
Well, I wrote fanfic that has no shipping whatsoever in it and was expressly designed to annoy Star Wars fans.
Warren
I'm probably
the
wrong guy to talk to.
Very chaste.
I just don't want to write. Well, first of all, it's about a bunch of Doctor Who head creatures. So get your mind out of the gutter immediately, Chris. And about them screwing around in Star Wars and causing trouble. So it's just japes and nonsense.
That was the last thing on my list, but one other thing that comes to mind is what's her name? Emily, the woman in the blue dress.
Yeah.
Emily
becomes a bird.
Whatever.
Well, always was a bird at that point.
Who always was a bird, and I thought that was a reveal. I was surprised by that reveal.
Me too.
I was too.
I'm surprised. I was surprised
because she was playing up the young society lady part so well.
And also explaining it, about the rules of society to someone who would have already known that, but because she's cosplaying, she has to explain the rules of it to Ruby. She didn't know that Ruby was not from 1813, And so
by the way, I would last 10 minutes in this world. I've often said if I lived in medieval times, I'd be a monk because I could nerd out somewhere quiet.
Before you'd get killed or want to leave?
I'd probably get killed or sent to war or something, yeah.
Probably.
But yeah, no, I was kind of questioning the timeline for Emily Beckett, apparently.
Yeah, that's right.
As to was she a bird was she a soldier the whole time, or was she not? Because when Stilton gets taken over, they kind of have like the domestic squabble.
Yeah.
And so if they're both children at the same time, shouldn't they, like, they don't know Ruby's there, so it's not for her benefit. They presumably, they talk about, I should have been able to scent them. So they should be able to tell each is a Chalder. Right. So what the hell is the point of this?
They're feeding off the drama. They're basically inventing drama on their own. Okay. It's the scandal.
That makes sense.
Yeah. These are theater kids. That's what they are. They're theater kids.
That makes
literally are. They are time-traveling theater kids that need to have this head-up drama.
Are they time-traveling, or they just happen to be there?
It's a good point.
I think it's, I inferred that they were time travelers. I don't know if it's not overtly said, though.
I guess she does say we want to expand this.
But just just like Rogue, I inferred was a time traveler as well. Yeah. Even though it's not actually said.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. But no, that's what I took that as meaning.
Okay.
They thrived on the drama. Sometimes people who thrive on drama have to invent it themselves. Like hero. If heroes don't exist, it is necessary to invent them, as Barusa once said. If drama doesn't exist, it is necessary to invent it.
I thought of them as a family of blood, but even campier. So.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I see that.
Or as less cosplay, more LARPing.
Yeah.
But
I've seen that debate, and I'm not qualified to go into either end of that, so I'm not going to.
I know. Just go to a Ren Fair and just see how they all act. It's like, are you cosplaying or are you LARPing right now? I can't.
There won't be any repercussions to asking that question whatsoever. I'm sure.
Not at all.
These people don't take it seriously. No, sir.
Not at all. Exactly.
I have seen people apparently walk in as time travelers causing trouble, but
if you go to Ren Fair.
Well, there's that. At least that one video out there where people go dressed as Star Trek characters and just wreak havoc.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of half and half. The older I get, the more I'm like, do you really need to bother doing that? Although there's a thing called Nuit Blanche, where I don't know if they do it other places. They do it here, where everybody pretentious jerks get dressed up. Yes, but they get dressed up in white. They go at a secret location. They have a big picnic essentially, and it's all very snobby and ridiculous. And I have never done this, but I've always thought, what if I dressed up as the guy from Clockwork Orange with a big super soaker full of ink, just went in there to the music from to the music from Clockwork Orange. Wendy Carlos.
What if it turned out like the Monty Python Sam Peckinpah?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I would get arrested because I would be assaulting people, but it would be funny. But there's also, because people hate it so much here, there's a thing called Ce Soir Noir, which is a bunch of East Van dirtbags who just go to a park and have a proper picnic.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's dumb Vancouver lore for you.
That is dumb. Is that it for your notes then, Chris? Is that
my notes are done. Yeah.
Okay. I think we enjoyed the episode for the most part. Warren least of us probably.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It was fine.
I enjoyed that other people really enjoyed it. I think that's my favorite thing is Warren knocks over his microphone. In his rage, Warren knocks over a microphone in rage against Doctor Who.
This is misinformation. This is misinfo. You're an info war.
That's exactly what's happening. So
fake news.
Somebody has to be. You could buy it. It's up for sale.
It's being dismantled,
and it's completely reputable, as we all know.
That's true.
Yeah. The brand is unsullied.
Is there anything else you want to mention? Because we're doing a hard tonal shift after this, so I want to make sure you're all done with your Rogue and your talk and all that.
Trailer gives us nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I might pick it up.
Precious little. If Jonathan Groff comes back as Rogue,
right,
I would welcome it.
Yeah, but make it next season. Don't put him in at 2 episodes.
Season 2 has already been shot, and we don't know that he's there. It doesn't mean
he's a busy theater actor too. He's a busy theater actor.
I'm just saying, if you're going to bring him in
New York,
that character, don't put him in an episode down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Make him come
find
back
me. It's like, I found you.
Halfway through the next one.
There you are.
Yeah.
Just like, literally the first dimension I checked. Oh, you're right there. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I reason that it might almost. It might always be like when Bill met the puddle lady in Heather in the beginning of season 10, series 10, and at the very end, basically is when she finds her again. I wonder, Doctor Who
Chekhov's puddle
about to regenerate or something like that,
or bigenerate. He's gonna bigenerate, so he could just go off with that guy and be happy. And then the next Doctor, whoever that is,
Do we need to keep doing the bi-generation thing? Or is that a
Well,
one-off?
if it's RTD in charge of it, you're going to get it, I
Let's
think.
do that one off, maybe. Just
I don't want to see it again, but I bet you RTD does.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for Rogue then. A monumental thing happened, of course, earlier this week, which is William Russell passed away at the age of 99. William Russell, Ian Chesterton in Doctor Who way back when, let's face it, Doctor Who's first leading man. Mm-hmm. He was there to do the heavy lifting in Doctor Who.
He was the Riker, is what he was.
He was the Riker. He was absolutely
Riker
the Riker.
was the Russell, is more accurate.
Yeah, but no, that's a very good analogy, in that he was basically the one who did all the the action stuff. It just looking at his character. When in season 1, when all the regulars got holidays, and they would write them out for 2 episodes at a time, and William Hartnell just goes off, no pre-film stuff at all. Jacqueline Hill goes off in the sense writes no pre-film stuff. They filmed 2 special scenes of Susan for the Aztecs, but then William Russell departs for 2 episodes of The Reign of Terror, and he's in so much of it. They pre-film so much because the story would not go anywhere without William Russell being there, because that's the titan that he was in that show. He was a star beforehand in
what was he in before it? I have no idea.
Yeah, well, he was in the Lancelot show. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which he was he's a TV star. There's the great shot of him sitting on the horse with a pipe. They're taking for publicity photos, which I thought was kind of cool and stuff. But and
his star turn in The Great Escape.
The Great Escape, he was in right around the same time that they were shooting Doctor Who. Basically, I think it's probably when or just before, actually, probably. But which was great. Ian was great, and William Russell was great as Ian. He just seemed like, just unflappable. Like, there's various actors who do, you could tell when they're flubbing and stuff. And I just feel like William Russell never really, like, it was just like, he was so solid and dependable and likable.
You look at him in contrast to William Hartnell. Mm-hmm. And, you got the legend of the Billy Fluff. Yeah, and Hartnell messing up his lines quite often, whatever. Yeah. And if William Russell ever did that, you wouldn't know.
Like the show
you could not
collapse.
tell.
Yeah,
he was. As you say, he was dependable. He learned his lines.
Yeah. He was a proper pro. And
he was in Superman.
Yeah,
that's right.
I didn't know that until Stephen told me about a year ago. Yeah. And I loved that movie so much, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of the scenes were edited out just for, not because he was bad or anything, just because the story. You see it very briefly when the thing's about to destroy.
He's on the Kryptonian Council or something?
Yeah, he's one of those guys, yeah.
One of the front actual production outfits.
He's not one of the guys that's guilty, I don't think.
No, he is. He was also in. He was one of the. Which was it now? He was in Sapphire and Steel, I think, too. The one written by Don Houghton. I think he was in that. He was in Robin of Sherwood. He was in he's in Coronation Street, of course, later on in life.
Well, you're contractually obligated as a British actor to be in Coronation Street.
And of course, the great, him and Barbara, of course, him and Jacqueline Hill had a great.
And the Romans.
We always sort of, I mean, talking about shipping earlier on in this episode. Ian and Barbara have been shipped to high heaven. Well, it's what's fascinating though is they're actors obviously, and like they basically never saw each other again after they left Doctor Who. Like we like to think of Ian and Barbara running off and at the end of The Chase and everything like that, London 1965. But they're actors and like they never really saw each other again because they never did the convention circuit. Jacqueline Hill did one convention. William Russell started doing them later in life and stuff like that. Probably after the convention died.
The convention circuit wasn't really
a thing
at that point.
No, well, in the UK, like Panopticon and stuff like that, that's the only one that Jacqueline Hill ever did. But but I
mean, it wasn't happening in the mid '60s.
Yeah,
I saw somebody.
No, I mean, like in the '80s. That's what I mean.
I saw somebody comment online about how when Twitch started doing all the old stuff in order, this person said, "I was a little worried the kids would not get what was going on, but within seconds of Ian and Barbara showing up, they're shipping the living hell at them." And this is like, I don't know, 15-year-olds like just watching old crappy '60s Doctor Who and going, "Oh, these two are doing it." It's kind of inspiring in a way. It's like, Would we have done it at 50? No, we would have not. We wouldn't have the facility to do it.
And as you mentioned, the progenitor of a meme with London 1965.
Yeah. You know,
that was just a great little thing about the old Doctor Who being rediscovered by an entirely new generation and them just running with it in their own way. Awesome.
And loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole Twitch Doctor Who thing, which when is that? 2018, 2017? I don't remember what it was
before.
now.
You know, it would have been perfect to happen during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. But that was I think it was like such a renaissance for Classic Who. And specifically for
the first Doctor, yeah, for sure.
For that, and Ian Barbara, you know, he was a man of action too. Like he, doing all the fight scenes and stuff. Like we said, he was just that type of actor that just knew. He was one of those actors that knew how to sword fight. That was one of the things you did when you were an actor in those days, a male actor especially. You learned how to fight, ride horses,
etc., etc.
You know,
probably being dragged for some reason. I don't know. It's the 60s.
It's. He was just so dependable.
There was I want to say it was somewhere around the anniversary last year, and I think it was the One Show. His son Alfred Enoch was on there as a guest, and Alfred Enoch having come to fame through Harry Potter, but
that's why I never heard of him.
Well, he's also in at least some spoilers, but he's also in Foundation as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Who is he in that?
First 2 episodes of Foundation. I've only watched the first 3, but
he was in the first 2.
He was too. Yeah. Anyway, the host of the show talked to Alfred about his dad, or maybe Alfred brought it up. I can't remember, but he was like, just so proud of him having been one of the originals on Doctor Who and whatnot. I looked it up. Alfred Enoch is 35.
Yeah, right.
Which means
wow.
I knew William Russell was not a young man when Alfred was born. But he's 64.
64 years old when he had.
Oh, well.
Yeah. William Russell, baby.
Twitch was May 2018.
2018 is when that was.
It's that far back.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Way back when.
Yeah, we live in the past, though.
Yeah, no. RFS, speaking of...
Some of us more than others, Chris.
Speaking of the past, I had the great honor of interviewing William Russell back in RFS.
Chatterton. Love it.
298, I think it was. Yeah, he had he wore one ribbon at the Gallifrey 2012 when he was there at Chatterton. That said,
that's pretty great.
Yeah. And I have distinct memories of we'd always talk about who should be in on what interview and whatever, and you and Ken from Podshock ended up kind of doing it jointly.
Yeah.
And Warren and I are like, yep, that's how it should be. Like, we'll happily step back.
You don't need to dogpile a 90-year-old man.
I was doing another thing at the time, but his second appearance at Gallifrey 1 was in 2019, and Deb Stanish did a wonderful interview with him. It's just like it was so caring because he was getting on, but she was just very kind and gentle with him and just coaxing the memories out of him and stuff like that, and the love in the room for him is just from hearing everyone who was at that thing is something that I wish I was there for.
Yeah, and I mean 2019 is like full swing. Gallifrey 1 having a lot of people attending who have seen nothing but the new series.
Yeah,
Torchwood maybe, whatever.
But Ian
just
and William Russell and that line was
he bridged that gap.
He really did. It's
and he did literally because he's in Power of the Doctor as the longest companion ever.
Right, I know. It's
longest gap between appearances.
Yeah, it's he was great. Ian was great, and it was sad. 99. What an innings!
That's extra. That's overtime. Is what that is, baby.
It really is, and he was absolutely superb. So our hats off to William Russell and your contributions to Doctor Who. They will, he will in that first episode. A thing that looks like a police box sitting in a junkyard can travel anywhere in time and space. Like the entire ethos of the show, and he delivers that line. One sentence, and it's he's a skeptic. He's what makes it work. This is kind of like when I argue about what the prequels in Star Wars were missing is that they didn't have that skeptical nature to them. Han Solo is there to point out the flaws in everything that's happening in Star Wars, and then is eventually won over by them, and therefore you, the audience, can be. And, you know, Barbara is like caring about Susan. Doctor Who is aloof. And then there's Ian as the person who is like, this is ridiculous. What? Like asking all the questions that the audience would be doing in that exact same tone, and eventually comes around to them. And William Russell gives that performance such humanity and such life. And he's, I think for the longest time he was underrated, I thought. And because of the DVDs and Twitch, and now it's all on iPlayer, you can go back and, well, you can't go back and watch that first episode yet.
Child.
But pull out your DVDs and watch it again, because he
Or,
is
legally purchased.
he
or
is brilliant.
BritBox, or
He's brilliant throughout Doctor Who. I remember even like towards the end there, you could tell how much he had gotten into it and knowing how the show works. There's a great scene in the Space Museum, bear with me, where they're in the TARDIS.
I like the Space Museum.
They're in the TARDIS console room, and then they come out and into the location. Now, they don't walk straight out. It's a recording break in between the TARDIS set and then when they're walking out into the Space Museum part in episode 1. And William Russell is, as he's walking out of the TARDIS doors, he sort of like bangs his fist together, like kind of like this is a random thing. And then he cut to the boom, recording break, walk him over, Kate, and we roll it, and it goes like that, and he's walking out, and he's doing this.
Yeah.
He knows to do that.
It's not like he could run it back at the time to
They
make
couldn't
sure.
do that.
You did that video village.
Yeah.
I mean, you did, but it was upstairs.
He's selling the illusion. He's selling the illusion that they're walking out of this police box onto an actual set. And he's like I said earlier, he was just a pro. He was a great actor. He was just brought so much to that role, and we will never forget him. He was great. He was absolutely fantastic. So hats off to William Russell.
And linked in the show notes as well is article from the Radio Times. Carol Ann Ford offering her tribute to William Russell,
which is lovely. Yeah,
worth a look there, I dare say.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Some things then to before we wrap this up. So, Tales of the TARDIS, was those things that they aired on that you can't watch.
Bonus stuff, yeah.
Bonus stuff on iPlayer, which were basically a memory TARDIS, where old doctors and companions could talk to each other, and they would basically bridge episodes. Omnibus stories of Doctor Who.
Bumpers.
And RTD says by generation is what makes this possible. So
yeah, I know. I watched them again this past week with Erica because she hadn't seen them yet, and there were a couple lines in there. So wow, like in some timelines I regenerate, and sometimes I don't. Says Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. Says,
this timeline suspended. Don't forget. So there's more at work here. Although I don't actually care if they resolve any of this.
No. Well, anyway, there were 6 of them that they made. Well, there's a 7th coming. There's a 7th coming. On June 20th on BBC 4, maybe they'll show up on iPlayer as well, but it's certainly it's on the site there. Radio Times says it's Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. We haven't determined where that comes from, but Louise Griffin from Radio Times is a pretty reliable source when it comes to this. We will say that in one of the trailers, I don't have the image up here now, but in one of the trailers, when you see Ncuti Gatwa's doctor sort of kneeling down and screaming out of the TARDIS into the
TARDIS
void.
is in space. Doors are wide open.
Right. You could see
some Mel behind his left shoulder.
Well, you could see in the first version of that trailer, you could see it was basically just the current TARDIS. If you're watching on Zoom, the one that I've got in his TARDIS in the background. But I think now it looks like what they've done is basically patch that in to avoid spoilers, because there's another trailer on Disney Plus. If you go to Disney Plus and play the trailer for Doctor Who,
minute 26, that's where it is.
Minute 26 in behind him is Mel and possibly someone else, and the memory.
Well, there's definitely
TARDIS.
somebody else. It just cuts away too fast.
Yeah, we can't tell who it is.
I know.
Mel's for sure.
I know.
Could
Not
be
my
Ruby,
point.
but we're not
my
sure.
point. And in behind is the memory TARDIS.
Yeah.
From Tales of the TARDIS. So it's a minute. It's a minute. 16 an hour 16 minutes is what this is. We don't know what it's going to be. Is it a class? Is it going to be Mel and the Doctor talking about Delta and the Bannermen? Is that what this is going to be? It's like what are we? Is it going to be Dragonfire?
Or as I hope, an hour of them talking about Kangs.
Just can't. It just
but
like
if it's in the trailer, that means the memory
Gangs of
TARDIS is going to show up in Show Prime.
Yeah,
somehow
it is somehow, which is weird because the Tales of the TARDIS is only an iPlayer thing, and it's not on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but they can just explain what it is in 2 seconds or less, right? So
Yeah.
None of the 6 that came out last year were on TV. As you say, it was an iPlayer exclusive. But this being on BBC Four,
or BBC Four
makes it
and
tie into whatever this actual show stuff is.
Does it make it more important, more elevated?
I don't know.
More
RTD
relevant?
did say when they launched the Tales of the TARDIS thing that they are canon. This is canon. So this is definitely cementing the...
and people will watch this episode, whichever the 2 it's in.
Yeah.
And unless it's in the next series, which I doubt, but it's probably this series. And then go, I should check out these Tales from the TARDIS because this thing I saw for the first time is interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. June 20th, which is, of course, Thursday, so the day before the finale airs or drops, it'll be there. So,
which leads me to think that something significant here is going on here.
Yeah.
And it ties into, although it's not enough of a tie-in, if you've just seen the episode,
right,
whatever old stuff they're trying to tie in there, they need to set up on its own in the episode as well. Because there's no guarantee you've seen this title of TARDIS.
I suspect it's going to be something akin to like, Pond Life, where if you watch it, it'll enhance something in the finale. But if you don't watch it, you're not really going to miss out.
I know what it's going to be because they're going to introduce the black and white guardian. It's going to be the Reboss or Ryboss or how the hell you say it. Operation Benro will be proven to be right once more.
And
the bones.
Yeah,
the bones.
you do an omnibus version of the Reboss.
Cram all key to
cut
time
out all
into
the good
one
stuff.
thing.
You can't. Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. But
of course it would.
we shall see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll know more once we've seen next week's episode and to what that goes into.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the fact it's a 76-minute runtime, like the other ones were around 10, 12, 15-ish minutes.
Oh,
for the actual Tales of the TARDIS stuff, over and above Earthshock, etc.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
So if we take that into consideration and kind of extrapolate, then we're looking at probably about 60, 65 minutes of actual like Doctor Who episodes. So a McCoy 3-parter. Delta.
Did they
matter, man.
cut
Dragonfire?
anything down with the original?
It could happen.
With the Tales of TARDIS, did they cut stuff out? Like they did trim it up like they did with the colorization of Daleks?
You know what? No, there was basically it wasn't an edited omnibus apart from the editing of the cliffhangers and the opening and closing credits. It was all the full story. So that's
also speaking of cliffhangers. I guarantee next week we're gonna get a cliffhanger the week after that. So whatever that might be.
Exactly. We'll find out. We shall find out next week. Possibly.
Well, Toku Prime in the chat says Shooty and Millie sit down to reminisce about space babies.
That would be hilarious.
That would be great.
We're
talking about something that happened several weeks ago.
Yeah. Some Big Finish stuff. Big Finish Day. Happy Big Finish Day. As we record this, the Big Finish Day is happening, but by the time you listen to this on the main podcast feed, it is over. But they announced that the Sirens of Time, the very first Big Finish release, is going to be remastered and re-released in November of 2024 for the 25th out of 25 years of Doctor Who Big Finish. They even shared a copy of the original DAT audio tapes.
Oh my God, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Right?
A long time, DAT.
Very small audio tape format. It's just like seeing that image. It was like when I was a band in the mid to late 90s. I think we recorded on DAT.
DATs were we had one in the edit suite at Videotron in Edmonton. And this is like mid 90s. And I remember the DAT being almost as expensive as the Avid it was sitting on top of.
Whoa, wow. Yeah, epic stuff. So well done, Big Finish, and that's kind of cool. Remastered and remixed, director's cut, so to speak. Redux is what they're calling it. Signs of Time, Redux coming in November of 2024. And then also Dark Gallifrey, the War Master, Part 1. That is coming out in July, and also in July is they timed this the announcement of this What Are the Lost Adventures, Operation Werewolf, which is around the same time as World War II. Of course, it was 80th anniversary of D-Day recently, so that is coming in July as well from Big Finish, where, as you know, they love stories.
They certainly do.
They do. Next week, our live stream, same time, same Bat channel here on YouTube and Facebook. I think it's going on as well. Our live stream review is at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon in the UK. 5 p.m. in the UK, noon in Eastern Time, June 15th. We talk about The Legend of Ruby Sunday, the penultimate episode of season 1. I can't believe we're at the end of this almost. Wow, this is
getting there, yeah.
Madness. So So
Well, I mean,
join us.
it's only 7 weeks of stuff. So
That's true. But we'll talk about it next week on Radio Free Skaro, leading into the Tales of the TARDIS, and indeed the season finale, and potentially the Oilers hopefully winning the Stanley Cup. Everything is happening at once for me. It's,
maybe they'll sweep and they'll be done in 4.
That would, Chris, you have spoken into existence my dream scenario.
You, as the children say today, manifest.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope that can happen. But
there is that one more thing in this.
Yes, there is one more thing.
What is the one more thing? I missed it. What is it?
Radio Times.
What
And
about the
us.
Radio Times?
Listing RFS and the Memory Cheats as one of the best Doctor Who podcasts.
Oh, that
two,
thing.
I guess, as
Two of 8.
That thing, yeah. I'm sure they went to say find some Doctor Who podcasts to talk about, and then give them arbitrary categories to say that they're what they're best in, and then
I read their blurb and I was like, I wrote most of this
Yeah,
blurb. They
I
just
mean,
took it from our description.
they 100% did,
Which is fine,
so,
whatever. Like, I'm not complaining or anything, but I was like, well, these words look all familiar because they're from my brain.
That's true.
Thankfully, they went a little beyond that and then put
A little
some,
bit, yeah, but they
put some
definitely
other
did
stuff in there.
copy and
But that-
paste some like descriptions.
and it was also not just our description. I think it was copied and
From a recent
pasted.
episode, direct write up.
Yeah. I was going to scroll down. I got to find it here.
All right.
One of the other listed podcasts, the Doctor Who Big Blue Box podcast, with the blurb saying with a huge 428 episodes of the podcast.
Amateurs, rank amateurs.
You certainly won't be short of Doctor Who chatter to listen to. Well, it's 964.
964.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it says
we're
in the
wrap-
clapperboard, yeah.
So we are wrapping up 964 right now. So
Yeah. They're still in their infancy at 400 odd.
Isn't that nice? As we
I know.
act like condescending jerks.
I know.
Dana Carvey time. Isn't that special?
Yeah. Well done. Nice callback.
That's from the 90s, Warren.
That is from the
I'm aware
90s.
of that. I know. You're incapable of anything else.
As I said, wrapping up for a second time because I forgot that Legends of Ruby Sunday review next week on Radio Free Skaro as we wind our way to the end of Doctor Who Season 1 on Disney Plus and iPlayer. So until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren to Vancouver.
And Chris in the 90s.
So long for now.